Hi, guys. Welcome back to our podcast, Speaking Spiritually, where we give hope to the world every Friday. We are your hosts. I'm Amy, and this is
Felix Lee.
Felix Lee is a renowned psychic medium with over 100 five-star reviews on Yelp, um, over a year-long waiting list just to see him for in-person readings. He reads people like celebrities, MLB players, everyday people. He does it as his profession for work every single day. He's amazing.
Well,
Thank you,
thank you.
Felix. We are going to be talking about dreams and visits and types of dreams.
Oh, yes.
So I remember one time you told me that there was two different types of dreams or
Yeah.
visits.
So there's two kinds of dreams in my 25 years as a medium to help people understand if it was a dream that was a visitation or if it was just a dream, maybe what I call a psychological dream. So the
Okay.
difference, there's a big difference. So in my experience, I've never brought through a spirit who was in a bad place.
Okay.
The bad place, the dark place is here. It can be here in the physical
So this
realm.
is the hard
Yes,
part. Okay.
for sure. It can be between your ears. It can be here. So, okay, there's two kinds of dreams that spirits have told me. So about the first dream is what we call the visit. And that is where it is active. It feels real. It almost doesn't feel like it's a dream. It feels very real, like it's happening. That is a visit. And with that energy is usually they're glowing, they're happy, they're telling you that they're good, that they're in a good place, and you just feel it. You know it. And oftentimes they communicate telepathically. It's actually how they communicate with us. We actually communicate telepathically with them.
Oh,
So
like
that's
through
what
the
we
dream?
call. Yes.
Okay.
That's what we call the visit. Then there's another kind of dream that we have of people that are past, and I call it the psychological dream. So they may show up as pain, and they're in pain, they hurt, they're angry, they might be sick again, it feels negative. That's not them, that's us. So oftentimes we see our fears play out. Like, are our loved ones good? Is my mom still angry with me? And so because she thinks that, her mom's still angry with her, she may have a dream of her mom being angry. And so then she says, oh no, my mom's still angry on the other side. No, she's not angry on the other side. You are, it's a projection of us. So she is projecting onto her mother's sort of visage. So I always say, it's not them, it's us.
Okay,
And
that
that's how you
makes so
can
much
tell.
sense. Oh my gosh. So if they're in your dream, because people have asked me that before, is that always a visit? It's not.
No. But
Oh.
oftentimes people will come to me and say, Felix, my father came to me last week and I'm worried about him. And I say, well, what did he show you in the dream? Well, he was angry. And I said, well, that's not him. And oftentimes I tell them, there's a reason you're having this dream. It's not without reason, or it's not necessarily wrong. It's just there's something in you that feels the anger, or maybe you worry that he's angry. So it comes through as he's angry.
Right.
So there's a reason why we have these kinds of dreams. And I always tell people it's so important to ask them to come to you and to show us what they're doing or how they are.
So I've had people tell me that they've asked for people to come visit them in dreams and they haven't had them visit.
Right.
What is happening with that?
Well, it means that the person who's asking isn't really ready.
Okay.
And that's not a qualitative thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just, it happens to everyone. Spirits are allowed to come to us when they're allowed to come to us.
Okay.
From what I've experienced, there's a timing to our spiritual growth and our journey with our loved ones on the other side. So they need to play their part. They have to adhere to those, I call them spiritual rules.
Oh,
and so there are times where we're not meant to have a vision or a dream of them yet because we are still processing. And so oftentimes people say, Felix, why hasn't my mother come to me?
Right. That's
It's
what
been
I've heard.
2 years. And I always say to them, have you ever asked? And you would be surprised to know that a lot of people don't ask. They just assume that, oh, my mom loved me, she'll come to me. Oftentimes it does happen that way, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's when I tell people you have to ask them. You're
Yeah.
giving them permission to come to you in a new way.
Okay, so
And
that's different than asking for a sign.
oh yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Sign is something not necessarily them, or a sign can be an object or a sign or symbol. But yeah, the reasons why some people don't have dreams of their loved ones is because they're not ready.
Okay.
And also, I forgot to say this. Some people just don't dream, or some people don't remember their dreams.
Oh, so they could have a visit, but they don't remember it.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh,
Many times
interesting.
spirit will come through and say, we came to her, and it's not to say, hey, we came to you, missed it. No, it's just so my dear, you can't remember your dreams, and that's okay. But your soul remembers.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I want to share with you a dream visit that I had, which was definitely
Sure.
of the visit type.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma had passed away, and I was very, very close with her. Her name was Jan,
Mm-hmm.
and she would wear like these little like red jackets that were like swishy kind of material, and she
Mm-hmm.
came through in my dream, and it was like the most real. It was a visit because
Absolutely.
it was like the most real thing I've ever experienced in my life. I was like, Grandma, oh my gosh, it's you. And like I smelled her, like I smelled like the cigarette smoke, and like I hugged her, and like we really embraced. I don't know, it was so weird. And then I sat on her lap, and like she was just
Absolutely.
holding me. And then I've never had a visit since, or a dream visit at least. And that was like 10 years ago, but
Right.
it's still so vivid in my memory.
Absolutely. And that's why she came through that way, for you to remember and for you to always have that memory. Right? You can actually retell that instance, that story of the visit, for sure. And she knows. And so oftentimes we'll have one or maybe two of those kind of dreams. But a lot of people say, well, I would like to have more. And it's usually once or twice they'll show up like that.
Right. Like it's not like all the time.
No. And it's because they need us to know this is us. We're okay. And we don't need to have that.
Right.
We don't need to keep having those. And it's actually important for our spiritual journey and health, or spiritual health, actually, to not have that attachment to them. Oftentimes, spirit will say, we can't come to you. We choose not to come to you because we need to let you keep moving on in life. If they keep coming to us, we can sometimes have a hard time moving forward. So for that reason, they'll hold back. It doesn't mean they don't love us and they're trying to like torture us. It just means that we have to continue knowing they're by our side, but on our own volition.
Okay.
We have to keep moving.
That's really, really interesting. Okay. So is there a certain, I know I had a certain feeling of just like peace and happiness, but is there a certain feeling that you would say that people would get after a dream visit?
Oh, yes.
Even if they don't remember the visit, maybe.
Absolutely. Yes. There are a number of ways that spirits touch in with us, and it may not be a dream. It's a feeling. It's just a knowing. And usually it's an elation of joy. It is a feeling of...
Yeah, like that's what I had, like that feeling of happiness. Like, oh my God, I just saw my grandma again.
It was visceral and real, because it was.
Yeah, no, for sure. So now that I shared my story, do you have any stories of dreams, visits that you had that were really real to you?
Yes. And I'm not sure if I shared this. Did I share my grandmother's visit?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow. So I have to tell you, this was in 2000, I believe in 2000, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, crossed over, and we were all with her before she passed. But a few days before that, I said, Grandma, I know that you're going to be okay. She says, I know, mijo. I said, Grandma, can you make sure you let me know you made it when you get to the other side? She says, I will. And I kissed her on the
2000 when you started reading.
It was actually, 2000, a little after that.
So you had already been reading a little bit?
A few, yeah. Okay. And I had been sharing some of my stories with my grandmother, and then she got sick, and we all knew she was going to cross over. And so I asked her to come to me. 3 days later, she crossed over. We were all around her. It was the most amazing experience.
Aww.
The phone rang once, and I didn't think anything of it. And my aunt said, that's Mom. She picked it up and there was no one there. She used to tell Mom, because they lived far away from each other, like 2 hours. So
Okay.
it was long distance to make a phone call, and it cost money. And my grandma didn't have a lot of money, so she would say, "Mom, when you get home, make it ring just once and hang up." So after my grandmother
Whoa.
took her last breath, the phone rang one time, and no one. My aunt says, "Mom's home." Just knew it. It
Oh
was so
my
powerful.
God. I love
It
that.
was so powerful.
Oh.
So to get back to the visit, this was in Cary, Ohio, where my grandmother crossed over. I went back to the Bronx, New York, where I was living at that time. And about 4 weeks later, it happened. It was so real. I was dreaming, but it felt like I was awake in the dream.
Yeah, like one of those dreams where you're like awake. I can't remember what
Hmm
they're called. What are they
I
called?
think there's a word for it. Vivid dreams, sure.
No,
It's a vivid dream, but
it's like where you know you're
yeah,
dreaming and
I
you're
know the word, but
controlling
I can't
yourself.
think of it at the time.
Lucid.
Lucid.
Yeah, lucid dreaming.
Very good.
Lucid dreaming.
Thank you,
Okay,
Felipe.
okay, okay.
And so it was so real. And she was in a purple robe. She was glowing. Her face looked so young and smooth, and she was glowing like the oil of Olay lady, I always like to say. So I came up to her and I remember hugging her. And I cried and I said, "Grandma." And she said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "I miss you." She says, "Well, you're coming here too one day." I said, "I know, but not yet." And she said, "No, not yet." And she said to me, and this is how I really knew, not that I questioned it was her. When she said, "I met my Savior," I knew it was her. I mean, that's how she would speak of Christ. She would consider
Oh.
Christ her Savior. And she said, "I met my Savior," and it was just so surreal. And she like dried my tears and said, "I'll always be with you. You're going to be okay. You keep doing what you're doing." It was just words of encouragement. And again, this is all telepathic.
Right.
No lips are moving here. And
Oh.
yeah, and
Oh, wow.
I said, "Thank you, Grandma." And in the dream, she went to lay down on the bed and disappeared. Then I woke
Oh.
up
Oh,
and
wow.
I cried probably about 15 minutes after that. It was like
Oh,
4 in the
and you still
morning.
remember it super
Oh,
vividly.
super vividly.
Oh, wow. That is an amazing
So
story.
I said, "Thank you, Grandma." And it's like, yeah, she kept her promise. One of the first times I've ever, and actually the only time I've ever done that, when I said, "When you get to the other side, let me know you made it."
But also the phone call let them
That
know.
was
And they
amazing.
said, "Okay, high five to grandma's coming through
Oh,
our
yeah.
dreams."
And I had no idea about the phone call. I mean, I didn't know about
Wow,
that.
that's an amazing that part's amazing too. Okay, so because we already did an episode on symbols and signs
Mm.
and like angel numbers, are there any kind of symbols and signs that would show up in a dream?
Oh, yeah. One of the big ones is when you dream of talking on the telephone. Usually it's a spirit
Oh,
connecting with you on the phone. So
that's
oftentimes
interesting.
people have those kinds of dreams. They'll hear voices in their head in the dream. They won't necessarily see, or they'll see but not hear them speak, and that's okay. It's nothing bad. It doesn't mean that they can't speak to you. It just means that they first want you to see them.
Okay.
There's a reason behind everything that they show us in a dream.
So I've definitely heard that like the best like the time to connect to spirit or to like even meditate really is like right in the transition time, like right before you're about to wake up or right before you're about to fall asleep. So is there a certain thing that we
Oh,
can do
yeah.
in those moments?
Yeah, and that actually is called the hypnagogic state. And
Oh.
that is a state where you're just like you're not losing consciousness, but your energy starts to go towards the dream world or starts to enter the REM state. And so that is a good time because your mind is sort of turned down, which is
Mm.
often why spirits visit us in the dream because our mind is turned down. So
Oh.
it's easier for them to connect to us. I sort of compare it to like their vibration's very high and ours is sort of low and we're awake. And when we sleep, our vibration rises and then they come in to meet with us in the center.
Wow.
So that is why we meditate. That is why we try to quiet our minds so that we can hear them. It's called raising our vibration, right?
Okay, I've heard that. I've definitely heard
Yeah.
that.
But when you sleep, you naturally raise your vibration.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, when you fall asleep and you're dreaming, does your spirit leave your body?
So a lot of people ask me that question. I can't say for sure that I know our spirit leaves our body, but our consciousness is definitely doing something.
Okay.
So it's semantics.
Okay.
We can say leaving the body. We can say having the experience of feeling like we're lifting out. Actually, that happened to me this afternoon when taking a nap, which doesn't usually happen.
Right
I felt
before
like
I
I fell,
came?
and yeah, actually, and I felt like I was feeling. I haven't had that happen in years, so that was interesting. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
funny you're asking me about it. It just happened to me,
And
and
that's how you woke up, the fall?
I woke up. Yeah, I'm like, okay, it must be time to wake up. So some people call it our astral body leaving.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
I heard about. That's what I wanted to ask you. So
Yeah.
you've maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for each person, but it's not a bad thing.
Okay. But if your astral body came out and your soul would just travel around?
Oh yeah, when I was younger, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this when I was growing up, never understood it until it happened to me. I would leave my body and float through walls as a child. I know I told my parents this.
God.
They didn't know what to think of it. They weren't closed-minded. They just like, oh, they thought maybe I was dreaming. Until one day I was taking a nap and I floated through the wall and I could go into their bedroom. They were just watching TV. And I could see on the TV, I'll never forget this. I don't know the name of the movie, but I told them, I was showing them what I saw on the television. And then I came right back to my body. It was like a rubber band.
This is crazy.
And I told my parents, and they were like, yeah, we had the door closed. So they thought that was interesting.
Oh my God.
They didn't know what to make of that. But
Okay.
yeah, I would float out of my body.
So you can do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we need to have an episode on astral
projection.
Yes.
I haven't done it in a long time.
Wow. Oh my God, that's amazing.
A lot of people experience it.
Okay, I was just watching a movie about it. That's what made me think about it. And I was like, wow, is that really real?
Actually, that was around the time period where I was developing as a medium. And I was starting to really see that I wasn't my body.
Wow, that's really cool. So could you come out of your body and just talk to my soul without me knowing?
We do that at night.
Oh, wow.
But yes, so it's an interesting question you just brought up. I learned in doing this work that we can connect to souls that are still alive. For instance, I had a falling out with a friend once, and I just thought about him, and I thought, this is really sad. I don't feel like we communicated very well. We were young, and he came to me in a dream, even though he's alive on the other side of the United States. And we hugged, and it was like our souls recognized the hurt, and we acknowledged each other, and it was wonderful. And then about 3 days later, he just called me out of the blue.
And you guys.
And we reconnected, and now we're still friends. But
did he did he remember that? Did you guys ever talk about that?
I don't think so. It was a very interesting thing. I don't think I've ever told him that.
Oh, wow. That would be really interesting to know if he had the same dream. Like when people say they had the same dream and they're like, oh, we met up in our dreams last night.
Yeah, I don't know. I might ask him.
Yes, because I want to know, can you meet up with people and they know and you know and you will.
Well, I'll know. Yeah, I've heard that too. But there are times though when I've met spirits that I didn't know in the dream, or I didn't know in my waking state that I knew in my dream. And so we have what we call soul families.
Okay.
And some of them come here on the earth plane. Some of them stay back in the spirit realm or don't come through this lifetime. But we know a lot of people that are not physical here. And so when I dreamt of these spirits, I was hugging them and they were saying, we'll see you again, but not yet, not now, later. And I remember feeling emotion, and I would hug them and say, I'll see you later. Then I woke up and I thought, I don't know these people. And these spirits said to me, Felix, that's because some of them you will meet, you haven't met yet. Some have been born and you will meet them. Some have not yet been born, you'll meet them. And some will never be born in this life.
Okay.
And it's just so comforting to know that if you ever felt lonely, even amongst your loved ones here, it's mostly because there are spirit loved ones on the other side that didn't come through this time.
Oh,
and a lot of times,
so that could feel like a past life thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to get too much into that.
I know.
We have an episode on
I could
past
go
lives.
on and on.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it there. But I feel like this was a great episode. Thank you guys for listening and tuning in again next week for more Hope on Fridays.